Thank you, Chairman Bilirakis. AM radio stations are a vital part of our nation's communications system. Tens of millions of Americans listen to AM radio every month, many while driving. And whether it's listening to community news, baseball games, or religious programming, there are many types of diverse programming that can be found across the AM dial. AM radio also provides potentially life-saving information during emergencies, particularly when other communication networks fail in the face of hurricanes, fires, floods, and other emergencies. And AM radio stations are an important distribution of emergency alerts, and there is a network of AM broadcast stations specifically designed to withstand major weather events and other disasters. These stations act as primary entry points for the nation's emergency alert system, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency invests millions of dollars every year to keep these AM radio stations ready to broadcast in emergencies. Now, AM radio played a critical role in my congressional district back in October 2012, when most of coastal New Jersey and New York and many other communities were devastated by Superstorm Sandy. In Monmouth and Middlesex counties, my district, we faced sustained winds up to 80 miles per hour and massive amounts of rain that resulted in major flooding and damage to critical infrastructure. The storm caused the largest power outage in New Jersey's history. Many people lost power for days or even weeks. Cell phone, cable, internet services were disrupted, leaving entire cities and communities disconnected. And many people in my district and elsewhere were left with very few options for receiving life-saving information. They turned to trusted radio stations for critical and time-sensitive alerts. During Superstorm Sandy and the aftermath, radio listenership in my district saw a 247% increase as my constituents turned to AM radio for information. Many stations, even those who don't typically focus on weather, alerts, or news, responded by staying on the air. Throughout the storm and its aftermath, they transmitted up-to-the-minute information on where to find critical supplies like gas and water, as well as weather warnings and messages from government officials. In New Jersey alone, about 880,000 people evacuated due to the hurricane, taking to the roads to keep their families out of harm's way. And for these families, easy and free access to AM radio in their vehicles was critical to their safety and well-being. Other communities have also relied on AM radio during emergencies, including in Louisiana during Hurricane Ida and in California when fires devastated Santa Rosa in 2017. Former FEMA Administrator Peter Gaynor also recently pointed to February's cellular signal blackout that impacted millions of Americans nationwide to underscore the importance that AM radio plays in our nation's emergency infrastructure. Now, in knowing all this, I was deeply concerned last year when some car manufacturers decided to remove AM radio from their new model cars. I'm glad to see that Ford and other manufacturers have reversed course. But as we'll hear today, other companies, especially manufacturers of some electric vehicles, no longer include AM receivers in their vehicles. And as a result, an increasing number of Americans lack access to AM radio. And that's why I'm pleased that we're holding this hearing to discuss draft legislation that would ensure all Americans continue to be able to access AM radio stations from their cars. The discussion draft we're considering today would address this problem by requiring vehicle manufacturers to install equipment to receive AM radio signals in all passenger cars made or sold in the United States at no extra cost to consumers. And I want to thank Chairs Rogers and Bilirakis and Ranking Member Schakowsky for working with me on a bipartisan basis to hold this hearing. I'm encouraged by the discussion draft that we'll consider today, and I look forward to working together to ensure that all Americans have access to AM radio in their vehicles. And with that, Chairman Bilirakis, I yield back the balance of my time. Thank you.
Gentlemen.